Okay, so let's go ahead and put together our mermaid. Now, I want you to find this piece here. This is about 11.4 inches wide, and there are some cutouts or some little score marks towards the bottom half of this piece here. So you want that bottom half towards you. Should be nothing up here. Okay, this is our canvas. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to glue this piece here up against the edge here, flush. It's going to be completely flat. There's going to be no dimension on this piece here. Okay, so get your glue ready, and let's go ahead and get that glued into place. And we're actually using a pearlescent paper here, just to kind of give this piece a little extra sparkle, because we are under the sea here. Okay, so just be very gentle with the glue, nice and thin. Try to get it in as many areas as you can so that it sits nicely. Okay. And then probably would just make sure that when you apply this, that you're kind of looking top down and that you have it nice and aligned in that corner there. It's nice and flush with the edge. Okay, you got a few seconds to kind of shimmy it around and get it in the right spot, and then push and hold that down while it dries. Okay, so we're gonna kind of work our way up. Okay, and while we have this piece here, we may as well grab some of the little embellishments here and just kind of put them in place, just so that we don't have to worry about going back and fixing anything. And what you want to do is you're going to grab one of these little, well, in my case, it's a gold piece. Okay, that's going to go there. Grab a smaller one, and then that one is going to go here. Okay, like that. So we're going to glue that down. And then we have two little starfish. As you can see here, there are, well, you'll be able to see it on yours. There are two guides that kind of tell you where that one goes. Okay, where these go. That's going to go here. And then we've got this guy here who's going to go right there. Okay, these we're going to glue down flat. These we're going to use either pop dots or foam squares to raise those up. Okay, so I'm going to grab this piece and I'm going to go ahead and put some glue on it. I'm just going to go with little dots of glue. Okay, just little tiny dots. Don't need a lot. We don't want them, I don't want glue getting all over the place. Okay. So that is going to go right there. Just make sure you get it nice and centered on that little circle there. Okay. And I can take this guy here, do the same thing, and get him glued right into this spot here. Okay. That's perfect. And now, let me get my little foam squares here. I think this star down here will be able to get a full square on that one. There we go. And this Michaels brand, these Michaels brand, I think they're Recollections foam squares, they really peel off easily, a lot more easily than the Joanne versions. Okay, let's grab this little starfish here. See if we can get a full square on this guy here. And it might be a little bit, no, that works actually. That fit on there just perfectly. Okay, and I'm gonna go ahead and get him glued on, just like that. Peel that off for a second, make sure that I'm aligning it correctly. There we go. Okay, so first layer is pretty much done, okay? And what we can do at this point is we can go ahead and put together, and actually, you know what, while we're working on this and while we have it flat, let's grab some of these little fish and just get this in place. Okay, so this little tiny fish is gonna go right here. Okay, and that is actually, well, I mean, you could pop dot it if you want. By design, we have it flat. Okay, so let's get some glue on our little fishy. Don't need much. It's a very small piece. And we're gonna just align him with the little guides there and push him down. Make sure he sits nicely. There's another tiny little fish, and he's gonna go right here. Okay, so I'm gonna grab my pick-me-up tool because this is such a small piece. I'm just gonna grab it like that and apply my glue. Just need a little bit of glue, not a lot. Okay, that right there on the tail might have been a little bit too much. Okay, and then we get that nice and aligned with our guides. There we go. There's our little fishy. And that leaves one more little fish. And that fish is gonna go right here. Okay, there's a little, you'll see the little markers there on yours. You may not see it very well on camera here, but trust me, it's there. Okay, so just putting little tiny drops of glue on my fishy, and I'm actually gonna smear those out so that they don't smear on my paper. Okay, just get that tail aligned, get the nose aligned, and push down. Beautiful. Okay, so we have that in place. Now we have two of these larger fish. Okay, these are going to be raised up with a little foam square. Okay, your bigger one is going to go here. Okay, got a little guide right on the tail and right on the nose that shows you where it goes. Okay, and this one's going to go here. Okay, so we want to go ahead and do that. Let's flip him over. And I think I should be able to get a full 1/4 inch foam square right on his head, or on his body, I should say. And you know what? I think that's going to hold it just fine. So let's go ahead and get that little foam square right on there. Okay, let's peel that off. And remember, the big one's going to go down here. The smaller one's going to go here. Just make sure you get that nice and aligned. There we go. And our other one. Get that one right in here. Get the tail nice and aligned. Get the nose nice and aligned. And just push them into place. Okay, great. Okay, so that bottom layer is pretty much done at this point. Okay, and that is looking pretty sharp so far. The next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna work on our mermaid. We've got to put her together. Okay, so we've got 2 layers here. This is the skin tone layer, and we've got a nice gold foil underneath it. And we're gonna go ahead and glue those 2 pieces together. So I'm gonna go ahead and just be very careful applying glue to her little mermaid body. I'm gonna do some dots here. I don't wanna get too carried away with the glue here. Just make sure everything sticks. Get some on her hand, a few dots on her little fan. Okay, and I'm gonna get this glued down. Just making sure that you've got it nice and aligned. Okay, that looks perfect. So I'm actually gonna move this out of the way for a second so that I don't make a mess on that piece. Okay, there we go. All right, now, one other thing too is we do need to assemble our fan as well. Okay, so this is our little fan piece here. Got these 2 layers. Again, we Got some really nice gold foil. I'm gonna go ahead and try not to use too much glue there. I'm gonna do my little dot thing here. Just little dots on this piece, just to get it to stick. Okay, and you want to align it using the little curves here. Okay, so just place those right on there, making sure that you're following that curve of the bottom layer. Okay, and that looks pretty good to me. I'm gonna scooch it around just a tad. Make sure I've got it in the right spot. That looks great. Okay. All right, so the next thing I want to do is I'm going to attach this fan to my mermaid like this, and this is actually going to be covering her face. Okay, but we do want to give this a little bit of dimension, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to see if I can get a 1/4 or a 1/2 inch piece on here. I don't know if I can, and I can, and I'm going to, because that just makes it a lot stronger. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get her hand and this fan nice and aligned on that piece there. There we go. Okay, and that's going to be covering her face like that. Okay, so we have that in place, and what we can go ahead and do at this point is get our mermaid glued down. Okay, so she is our second layer. Let me bring this canvas over here, and we want to position her so that her face fits this little piece here. Okay, so it should basically, this is her hair basically. Okay, so we want to get that positioned like that. Okay, just like that, and she's going to be 1 layer up. Okay, so when you're getting ready to put her down, just kind of move the fan out of the way and kind of move this piece around until you see where it fits perfectly. Okay, for me, it's right there. That's where she's gonna go. So let's flip her over, and I'm grabbing these 1/2 inch squares, and I'm gonna put them all up and down her body. I'm gonna work the perimeter first and get them in the nice perimeter areas. Okay, you don't want to put any on the fan at this point. Okay, let's go ahead and add one here, and then I'm going to grab some of these small ones to put on her arm. Okay, I think that's pretty good there. So go ahead and peel these back, and we're going to get her nice and aligned and in place. Okay, there we go. Yeah, these come off nicely. Should have been using the Recollections brand from the get-go. I wouldn't have to use my razor to peel off the backing. Okay, so again, move the fan out of the way and get that aligned as best as you can. Okay, and go ahead and drop her into place, just like that. Okay, so we are getting there. Okay, so next layer is going to be this layer, and we are on layer number 2, or the second story, I guess you could say. So we're going to flip this over, and I'm going to be applying 2 layers of foam squares to this piece. Okay, and I'm going to begin by working the perimeter. Okay, and the only thing you want to do is avoid putting any foam squares in this area where her head is. Okay, that is going to overlap just slightly. We want to keep it away from that area. I'll show you here where you can and shouldn't go. Okay, so right now I'm just focusing on putting my foam squares in the larger areas so that we can get some really good support using the 1/2 inch squares here. Okay, So this is where we're going to sort of stop with the 1/2 inch foam squares. Now remember, we got to double this up. Okay, so we got to double this up. We got to put 2 layers on this. Okay, and this little area here is kind of a continuation of the hair that drapes over her body. We need 1 layer here, but we're probably going to need to use just the 1/2 inch foam squares there. Okay, so I'm doubling this up. We're doing 2 layers there because this is the second layer. Okay, so get that in place. Peel that off. There's layer 2. And I am going to grab my 1/4 inch pieces and kind of fill this in a little bit because we need a little bit more support in some of these areas, especially like down here. Okay, so I'm going to peel this back. And throw another one down here. That needs to be 2 layers. Okay, and let's see, where else do we need some support? We are going to need some support here. Well, I think I could probably fit a 1/2 inch square there, and yes I can, so that's good. Okay, so you just got to kind of play around and figure out where to put all your pieces here. I'm probably going to need something about here just to hold that up. And actually, I can do a 1/2 inch there. Okay, so let's get that in place. All right. And then, we just kind of test this out here. That looks good. Okay, we're going to put just 1 layer of our 1/4 inch foam squares right along this part here. Okay, just like that. I think that's probably good. Okay, and just make sure all of our backing is off, and we can go ahead and place this piece down now. So just make sure that you've got it nice and aligned on the top and on the side. And just push down, and there we go. Okay, so that is looking sharp. And at this point, while we have this piece out, I want to go ahead and put down some of the other little embellishments. We have 3 of these little star shapes left. We're going to be using all 3 of them. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just put a little bit of glue on my little star shape. And this first one here is going to go right here. Okay, so just get that in place, let that dry. Grab your next one. Okay, and this next one's going to go right here. So just pop that one right in place. And just give that an opportunity to dry. We've got 1 left here, and then we're going to use 2 little starfish. Okay, just popping a little bit of glue on there. And he is going to go right here. Just like that. Okay, great. So we have, I'm going to grab the smaller of the 2 starfish that are left. Okay, and we're going to raise this one up, and that's going to go right here, just like that. So I'm probably going to need a 1/4 inch foam square for that. That looks perfect. Get that backing off, and just make sure that you are lining it up correctly. There we go. Okay, and just grab this tiny little guy, and I think we can get a, no, that's going to be too, it's going to be too big. So I did this before actually, and I'll show you guys again. With these foam squares, if you take scissors, you can actually cut them and make them smaller. Okay, so you can do that. We're going to grab this little star and put just one little foam square on the back of this guy and peel off the backing. Come on, backing. That is the Joanne brand, and that one doesn't like to come off as easily. Okay, and just pop that on there. And actually, I did not like that. Kind of stretched out on me. I'm going to try that one more time. I might try it with the Recollection brand here and see if that one performs a little better for me. I got a feeling that it will. There's my star. Get my little foam square on there. Peel off the back, and of course, Michaels definitely has better foam squares. There we go. Okay, so that's that. We do have, actually we have one more little star here to put up in that corner. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a full 1/4 inch piece. There we go. I'm going to peel off the backing and get this pretty little starfish right there. Okay. All right, so layer 2 is pretty much done here. And there is one more little star actually that goes right about here. Okay, so I want to make sure that we've got this aligned correctly, like that. Okay, and that is that's going to get pop dotted to this layer as well. So let's grab a 1/4 inch piece, get that on our star, and get that in place. Make sure that I've got it aligned correctly. There's a little guide there to help you with that. Okay, there we go. Just like that. Okay, so we are making our way here. We've got the tail and then the bottom left, and we're almost done with this piece actually. It's going pretty quick. Okay, so layer 3 is our tail. I'm going to move this out of the way for a minute so we can work on our tail here. Okay, and our tail is made up of 5 total pieces. Okay, the first main piece is this here. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to apply glue to the back part of this tail, this overlay, and we're going to put it on, in our case, some gold foil. Okay, so you got to go ahead and work kind of quick here because it's a lot of detail, and do your best to get your glue in all these little nooks and crannies. Most importantly, try to work out in the perimeter because that is probably more important than the interior, just to make sure that we have everything staying in place nicely. Okay, just kind of work your way in between all these little cutouts here, and before you know it, you'll have your glue on there, and we are ready to get this applied, our overlay, onto our gold foil. I'm standing up right now just to get a nice eagle eye overhead view of what I'm doing, just to make sure that I'm aligning everything nice and properly and correctly and accurately. And I did a pretty darn good job there. Okay, so just get that down, give it a few seconds to dry. Okay, and so the way that this is going to work is that's going to kind of connect like right there. Okay, it's going to be 3 layers up, and that is going to be kind of covering her like that. Okay, so but before we do that, We do, and actually, you know what? We can probably put this down now. There's going to be these three little layers here that we're going to need to put on the tail, but I want to go ahead and do this first so we're not working with too much here. Okay, so obviously we want to sort of not put anything towards the edge of the tail here. Okay, we're going to work our way up here. We're going to need some 1/4 inch pieces here. And then the idea with this, and we're probably just going to kind of stop right along where all these little details are, because this, we're going to peel these back a little bit and give them a little dimension. Okay, so let me flip this over and I'll show you, I'll kind of walk you through it here. Okay, so again, you don't want to get too close to the edge of the tail. Give yourself about 1 inch. Okay, and let's get the big squares along the perimeter of the tail. The more the merrier that you can get, because it's going to hold this thing in place that much nicer. Okay, and then as I said, once we start getting into these details here, we want to kind of back off of the foam squares, but actually down here up to about, let's see, up to about this little point, from here to here, we can add the foam squares. Okay, so one right there, basically. That's a good place for it. And then the rest of these here, we'll worry about putting foam squares down at a later time here. I'm not gonna do that just yet. Okay, because remember, we got to go 3 layers on the tail here. Okay, so go 3 layers on the tail. So that is my 3rd layer for that one. And I hope I don't run out of these recollections ones, because I really like them. They're a lot easier to work with, and they seem to be just as sticky. So we're going to stick with that until we run out. Let's hope we don't run out. Okay, so just taking this off and going 3 layers deep here. Okay, so we've got 2 layers there. Now we've got 3. And just working my way around here. And the last layer is just a little decorative layer at the bottom. And that one's pretty easy. There's not much to it. You just glue 2 layers together and you're pretty much good to go. Okay, so I think I'm going to have enough foam squares here, which is good. I would say that if you're making all 3 of these, probably pick up about 2 packages of these foam squares, because the 1/2 inch ones are so nice to work with. They cover so much area. They're so sturdy. They're like little support beams. Okay, so let me see here. I just want to kind of see how sturdy that is. I'm not gluing it down, I'm just testing the waters here. Okay, and what we also want to do, I want to try to put a little bit of support, probably I'd say here in this area here. Okay, so I'm going to grab my 1/4 inch squares, and I definitely want to put some support there. And again, that's got to be 3 layers. Okay, so just make sure that you're getting 3 solid layers on there. And try to stack them right on top of each other so that you've got good support and it doesn't wobble too much. And I'm thinking probably, let's see here. Okay, I am going to put one more set of 3 right about here. I feel like that is kind of a little bit of a fragile area. I want to make sure that that stays in its place properly. So we're going 3 layers deep there. Okay, and I think that might be okay. So I'm going to go ahead and put this thing down. Okay, and again, right on the mermaid, on the bottom of her body, there are little guides to help you with positioning of the tail. So just go ahead and get that in place and get the rest of her tail in place. And there we go. Okay, look at that. That looks cool. Okay, So there is our mermaid. And what I want to do, you always definitely want to make sure that you give this ample time to dry because it is 2 layers thick. I'm going to grab a dowel, okay, and I want to curl these back a little bit just to give them a little bit more life, okay. And again, it's important that those are dry because it is 2 layers of paper, and sometimes when you curl this stuff with 2 layers, it wants to kind of come undone. So just be very careful when you curl these back. Just kind of like the way that the light hits that when it's curled back. It kind of adds a little bit more interest right on that little tail area. Okay, so this is looking great. And actually, the one thing we have left to do at this point is put the base of her tail on here. Okay, and we're gonna begin by, actually we wanna go ahead and flare these out a little bit, just to give them a little bit of dimension. And we're gonna glue this right flush. This layer is gonna be flush right there on the base of that. Okay, so just go ahead and let's just put glue on this part here. Okay, don't need a lot, just a little bit. And get that glued down. Just kind of run your finger along this part here. Okay, there we go. There we go. Okay, and the next layers here, we're going to actually do with foam squares so that we can add some dimension to these. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and flip this over. And I'm going to put just the 1/4 inch ones. I think 2 is probably enough. Okay, and that is going to go right. Oh, let's not forget to flare these out. Okay, so that's going to go right there, just like that. And we've got one more here. Go ahead and grab our 1/4 inch pieces. Just add 2, probably right about there. Okay, peel that backing off. And we're going to adhere that. Okay, let's not forget to flare that out and adhere that right there. Okay, look at that. That is beautiful. I'm really digging this. Okay, so all that's really left to do is put the bottom on here, and we're going to go ahead and glue these 2 layers together. We gave you 2 because it's there's a lot of detail on it, and it's a little flimsy with just 1 layer. So we're doing 2 layers here, and you're going to have to work kind of quick here, because it's a lot of area, a lot of detail. If you want to try to use like a spray adhesive for this, you might want to try that and see if it works for you. I have mentioned this in a few of the videos here that I've worked with the spray adhesives and just have not had much luck with them, holding up over time. So I'm kind of anti. But again, maybe it's just because I didn't have the right brand or the right hold. So I'm kind of looking in the middle here on the bottom and getting that aligned first, and then the rest of it kind of falls into place, just like that. There we go. And just push that down and get it to hold. So now remember, we are 4 layers deep now, okay? So we are gonna have to put 4 layers of dots on this, and I'm just hoping that we can find enough area to use the big ones here, okay, because this is a bit of a smaller area. So that's what I would do first, is concentrate on finding little sections of this piece where we can put 4 layers down, okay? Now, one other thing too is you're not going to need 4 layers in all the spots. So if you take a look here, you'll see that we need 4 layers around this area here and definitely over here. So everything to the right, or when you have it flipped over, it's to this side. Everything to this side of this shell is going to need 4 layers to stand up properly. I could probably not worry too much about, well, yeah, we could probably put 4 layers along the bottom too, because that really shouldn't interfere with our mermaid's tail at all. So that's what I would focus on. Okay, so let's do that. Let's see if we can find some areas where we can get these 1/2-inch pieces like there. Okay, and we're probably going to be running out of little spots to put these pieces because of all the little details. There's one there. I think that'll work. The rest of these are going to have to be 1/4-inch pieces, which is fine. Okay, so let's go ahead and begin putting down our 1/4-inch pieces. Okay, and I'm going to first just work on doing one at a time and spacing them out so that we have the best possible support. Okay, all right, so that's good like that. Let me move this up a little bit. All right, let's put one here. I think I might be able to get a big one here. Yes, indeed. Let's see. Yep. Okay. And again, I'm just going to work along the perimeter here, because the perimeter piece here, this area, should not interfere with anything. It's not going to overlap anything, so definitely get the perimeters covered with our little foam squares. Okay, and then once we have the perimeters covered, which that looks pretty good, okay, we're going to go ahead and see where else we might need to add some foam squares. Okay. All right, so this is pretty much it for the 4-layer ones. All right, so again, 4 layers here. So that's 2, 3, and 4. I need 3, 6, 9 more, and I have just enough here, so that's good. All right, so we're putting these on there. So basically at this point, all you want to do is just make sure you have 4 layers of foam squares in these spots. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and put this thing down onto our canvas. So go ahead and layer your squares up to 4, and I'll meet you here in just a second and we'll finish this thing up. Okay, so if you take a look at this piece here, everything that you see here, as far as the foam squares go, these are 4 layers, okay? So if you need to pause this, pause it, and just try to replicate what I have here, okay? The rest of this, I'm gonna go ahead and just put down 1 single layer on these internal pieces here, these internal parts, okay? Because these are gonna be touching a layer that is already 3 layers deep. So we only need 1 additional layer to get that to elevate correctly. Okay, so that's pretty good right there. That's how yours should look, something like that, something close. Okay, so we can go ahead and flip this over now. And let's get this nice and aligned with the bottom. Make sure that you've got it aligned with the edge. And go ahead and push that down. Let's get this little piece behind, like that. And there we go. Okay, just kind of push down. Make sure that your little support pieces are in place. And maybe just push down here, just like that. And there you go. Okay, so all that's left at this point is to mount the entire canvas onto this 12 by 12 sheet. And in your download, you have this little corner piece. Okay, so grab a pencil and align that with the top and left, and then use your little pencil to just create a little mark there. Okay, and you're going to do that preferably on all 4 sides, but I can get away with just 3. I'm okay with just 3. Okay, now you probably don't see it. I'm doing it very light so that we don't leave a mark on the paper. It's going to be covered up and you probably won't even see it anyway, but I just like to be careful. Okay, so that looks great. And I'm going to flip this whole thing over for a second so that I can put glue on it. And I'm going to concentrate my glue on the outside here. I don't want to put too much on the inside. I think the outside is just fine. Okay, so let's take this piece and using those little guides there, just glue that to this backing piece, making sure that you've got it perfectly aligned. Okay, you've got a few seconds to shimmy it around before it fully grips, and that looks pretty darn good. Okay, and give that just some time to dry. Let those edges really adhere, and it's ready to go into your shadow box. Okay, which I have over here. So let me just grab my shadow box. And mine's not fully dry yet, but I want to show you the full effect here of once it's in the shadow box and how cool it's going to look. And there you go. So you are all good.
Stay on top of all things Dreaming Tree and engage with us today. Get the latest news and enter in our giveaways on Facebook. Get inspired by following us on Pinterest. Be the first to see our new product launches on Instagram. Do you prefer Twitter? Yep, we're there too. Watch our beautiful product trailers and assembly tutorials on YouTube. For more information, visit www.3dsvg.com. Live, craft, love, and dream.